Hey there, this is Mark Johnson. I'm the photojournalism lecturer at the University of Georgia's Grady College of Journalism and Mass Communication, here to bring you a little update as to what was happening in the visual realm here in Athens, Georgia, and a little bit around the world here. A couple of quick things to talk about in the classes. Our introduction to photojournalism students this week were introduced to two of the most important concepts that we'll talk about throughout the course of the semester. The first is workflow. Workflow is the process of getting their images off of their cards onto the computers and then submitted. It's important because that's how we give them grades, but it's also important because we establish some standards at this point in the semester so that they can track their images throughout the course of the semester. We talk an awful lot about making sure that you're backing up your images, making sure that you've got good file name structures on there so that instead of just having files scattered all around your hard drive that say _mg_2972.jpg, we actually give them a naming convention so that all of their images have a date code on them, their initials, and the assignment name, as well as a sequential number associated with them. As part of that, we also teach them an awful lot about captions. Captioning for photojournalists has been the bane of many an editor's existence, to be perfectly honest. For some reason, it's not a traditional strong point for photojournalists, except for the ones coming out of our program here, because I hammer them really, really hard. 15% of their grade comes down to their captions on every single assignment that they turn in. So we make sure that they understand Associated Press style, and we explain the philosophical reasons, business reasons, and the historical reasons as to why good, strong captions, good, accurate captions are truly important. Now, the piece of software that we introduced them to this week is one of my all-time favorite pieces of software. It comes from a company called CameraBits.com is their website, camerabits.com, and it's called Photo Mechanic. I've been working in Photo Mechanic for maybe a decade at this point in time, and it's, like I said, it's one of my two all-time favorite pieces of software. It simplifies the workflow. It allows you to do batch renaming, batch captioning, all kinds of selection and edit stuff. It's the first piece of software we teach before we launch them into Photoshop, which will be next week. And we had a little surprise when I finished up teaching on Monday. I went up and I was poking around through my RSS feeds and came across a link that said that CameraBits was actually putting Photo Mechanic on sale. Photo Mechanic is normally a $150 piece of software. They do an educational discount on that. I think it's 10% for students. But because they're celebrating their 15th anniversary as a company, they dropped the price all the way down to $60. At $150 or $135 for students, I think it's an awesome, awesome bargain for them. But at $60, it's just something you can't pass on. So I sent that out to the students, and a whole bunch of them emailed me back and said that they had picked it up. As of this taping, or this recording at the very least, they're still on sale, so that's something you probably want to rush on over and pick up. I make no money. I am not an affiliate. I get no kickbacks on this. I just think CameraBits is a great company. I think Photo Mechanic is one of the most important pieces of software that you can have sitting on your laptop. It is available for Mac and Windows machines, so run on over and get that. Over in the documentary photography class, we had a little bit of excitement. We had a whole bunch of visitors that came in. Throughout the course of the week, we had Chris Stanford. Chris is a 1994 graduate from Grady College, and he's currently a multi-platform editor at the Washington Post. So I think he was in 9 or 10 classes over the course of 3 or 4 days here on campus, did a public talk, a bunch of dinners with faculty members, office meets, all kinds of stuff. And on Thursday afternoon, we brought him in for the first hour of the documentary photography class to talk about what he's doing at the Washington Post. His assignment is working on the mobile platform, so the websites that come up when you hit them with your smartphone or your tablets, as well as doing a little bit of work with the standard website and things like that. We did press him a little bit towards the end of his talk as to what were the most important things for photojournalism for journalism students to be working on at this point in time. And the two things that he really highlighted were captions, of all things. He thought that he had had an awful lot of photojournalists that he had worked with over the years that were not really great with captions, particularly getting IDs right. We pointed out that if those photojournalists came from our program, that would not be a problem for him, and he kind of smiled a little bit at that. He also said that the photojournalism, visual journalism students that we have here are probably the ones in the best position to get jobs going forward. The standard writing skills that they all have are good, but it's not enough to keep them busy. They've got to be thinking about online, they've got to be thinking about multimedia, they've got to be thinking about different story forms. So it was all good news for our students in this room to hear. As soon as we cleared him out on Thursday afternoon, we brought in 2 more guests. We brought in Alan NeSmith, who was a 2004 graduate of the Grady College of Journalism and Mass Communication. I almost added a decade to his age there, and I don't think he'd be happy with that. Alan NeSmith is the publisher of the Northeast Georgian newspaper, along with a couple of other newspapers up in that area. And he and Lane Gresham, one of their senior reporters, are the folks who are going to be hosting the Doc Photo students for our weekend workshop, which is coming up in just 3 weeks. So they came in and filled us in on the background, the history, the industry, the economics, the demographics, all kinds of great stuff about Habersham County, where we will be on the last weekend of February. Looks like we've got our 7 editors locked down for that. We're going to be flying in a couple of folks. A bunch of people are going to be driving in. It's a nice mix. Local some local media from Atlanta, Columbus, Chattanooga, a couple of folks from out of town, including a Pulitzer Prize winner from the Associated Press up in Washington, D.C., and one of the top multimedia journalists coming out of the New York City and upstate New York area as well. So we're really looking forward to that. On a bit of slightly more serious news, please pay attention to the stories that are coming out of Egypt right now. There have been dozens and dozens of journalists that have been harassed, attacked, and arrested over there. It's a really important story, and it's an excellent example of why we have to do this stuff and the dangers that our colleagues are going through right now. So keep them in your thoughts. If anything else develops during the week, we'll bring it to you. But that's it for now.